Love was the only witness. The courthouse steps were empty at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March. Sarah stood there with courthouse documents folded in her coat pocket, the ink still wet on signatures that had just dissolved a marriage of 11 years. She didn't cry. She'd done that already, months ago, in the kitchen while Derek packed his vinyl collection into milk crates. What she felt now was something quieter, a strange, hollow relief, like the moment after you finally pull out a splinter that's been embedded for too long. Her phone buzzed. Her sister, "Call me when it's done." Sarah would call later. Right now, she just wanted to walk. She ended up at Riverside Park without really meaning to. Her feet had carried her there by memory, past the coffee shop where she and Derek used to share a Sunday paper, past the bookstore where they'd browsed separately and met at the register to compare finds. The park had been their spot once, back when their spot meant something. The bench overlooking the river was occupied by an elderly man feeding pigeons from a paper bag. Sarah almost turned away, but he glanced up and smiled, gesturing to the empty space beside him. "Plenty of room," he said. His voice had the gentle rasp of someone who'd smoked for decades and quit. Sarah sat. They watched the pigeons peck and strut in companionable silence. "You look like someone who just came from somewhere important," the old man said after a while. "Divorce court," Sarah heard herself say. She surprised herself with the honesty. He nodded slowly, scattering another handful of seeds. I'm sorry." "Are you? Most people say congratulations, or good riddance, or tell me I'm better off." People say a lot of things they think they're supposed to say. He folded the empty bag with careful precision. "I'm Walter, by the way." Sarah. "My wife died 3 years ago," Walter said, still watching the pigeons. "Margaret, 52 years together." "I'm sorry," Sarah said, and meant it. "Thank you." He was quiet for a moment. "You know what I miss most? Not the big things. Not the vacations or the anniversaries. I miss the way she'd hum while she washed dishes. Off-key, always. Drove me crazy for 5 decades. He smiled. "I'd give anything to hear it again." Sarah felt something crack open in her chest. Derek used to leave cabinet doors open. Every single one. I'd walk into the kitchen and they'd all be hanging there like broken wings. I must have asked him 1,000 times to close them. And did he? Never, not once. She laughed, but it came out wet. I thought that was what love was, accepting someone exactly as they are, cabinet doors and all. Maybe it is, Walter said. Or maybe love is 1,000 different things, and we spend our whole lives figuring out which ones matter. A jogger passed, then a woman with a stroller. The river moved steadily, indifferent to their small sorrows. "The thing is," Sarah continued, "toward the end, I wasn't even annoyed anymore. The open cabinets just became invisible. We became invisible to each other. We'd sit in the same room, and I couldn't have told you what he was thinking. I'm not sure I cared." "That's the real ending, isn't it?" Walter said gently. "Not the fighting, the silence." Sarah nodded. She'd never been able to explain it to her friends, to her family, to the therapist they'd seen for 3 uncomfortable sessions. Everyone wanted a villain, a betrayal, something concrete. But their marriage had simply eroded, grain by grain, until one morning she woke up next to a stranger. "Margaret and I had silence too," Walter said. "Every marriage does. We had a whole year once where we barely spoke. I was angry about something. I don't even remember what. Pride, probably. Stupidity." He shook his head. "She waited me out, made my coffee every morning, kissed my forehead every night, and waited, until one day I was ready to talk again, and she was right there." "What changed?" "I realized I was destroying the thing I loved most to prove a point I couldn't even articulate." He looked at Sarah directly for the first time. "I'm not saying you made the wrong choice, understand. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people grow in different directions, and there's no amount of watering that'll make those roots intertwine again. I'm just saying, love witnessed all of it. The good years and the bad. The beginning and the end." Sarah felt tears then, finally. Not the angry, bitter tears from before, but something gentler. Grief, yes, but also gratitude for what had been, even if it couldn't last. "He wasn't a bad person," she said softly. "I'm sure he wasn't." "I wasn't either." "Of course not." Walter stood, his joints creaking audibly. Sometimes two good people just can't make it work. That's nobody's fault. That's just life. He touched her shoulder briefly, a grandfatherly gesture of comfort, and then he was shuffling away down the path, leaving Sarah alone with the pigeons and the river and the weight of everything that had ended. She sat there as the sun dropped lower, painting the water gold. She thought about Derek, probably in his new apartment across town, unpacking those same milk crates. She hoped he was okay. She hoped they'd both be okay. Her phone buzzed again. Her sister, worried. Sarah typed back, "I'm fine. Really, I call you tonight." And she would be fine eventually. The love had been real, even if it hadn't been enough. It had witnessed two people trying their best, failing, and having the courage to let go. That had to count for something. Sarah stood, brushed off her coat, and walked home through the gathering dusk.